Lordy again, back with another review. You're going to have to excuse me looking a little bit dishevelled, but I've not been well this last couple of days. Anyway, I'm going to cheer up for this one. Today I'm going to be reviewing this, which is the Kamry K200. For this one, I need to thank Todd of Todd's Reviews. I got a message from him last Sunday saying, Lordy, do you want to review something? He's the Pope of Catholic. So he said, I'll send it to you so long as you promise to give it away after. So there is a giveaway in this video, which will come up at the end. So the Kamry K200 in the UK at least, I've only seen from one vendor, which is Charlie's Vape Shop. Everyone says it time and time again, and I'll say it again. Charlie is an absolute gent. His service is second to none. And at the moment he's selling this for £34.99 body only, or you can get it as a full kit for an additional 23 quid. The full kit includes a charger, a couple of 18650s, a couple of clearomisers, a bit of a carry case as well by the looks of it. So at that price it's well and truly in Vamo territory. So for the purpose of this, that's what I'm going to be comparing against. So we'll go into the table for a look. It shouldn't take too long. Then I'm going to give you my thoughts and tell you how you can win this. Over to the table. Okay, so I thought I'd start off by showing you it next to the Vamo version 2. That's a stainless steel one there. And yeah, it's an 18650, so it is going to be a bit on the large side. But as you can see, it is a little bit smaller than the Vamo. I reckon overall it's probably about 10 mil shorter, something like that. Now, when Todd did his review on this, he had to get the giggles out of the way. I'm not going to laugh about it, and I'll tell you for why. My Vamo doesn't work anymore, and the reason it doesn't work is because I dropped it, and it doesn't bounce very well. Two reasons for that. Number one, you've just got a flat, polished surface there, which is why, well, it was one of the things that led to it slipping out of my hands. The fact that I'm a klutz, of course, was nothing to do with it. So, yeah, this has got, for her pleasure, quite well ergonomically designed grips. Your fingers do naturally sort of fall into that grip pattern, and it does give you a better hold on the device for exactly that reason. The other thing as well that's good about this is that the 510 connector, the center pin, is spring mounted, so whatever you put onto here is going to flush mount. Now, the reason why my Vamo broke was because nothing flush fits. So when nothing flush fits, you've got a really weak point here. So if you drop it and it lands on the Atty, then it's a major weak point that could break things. Because the center pin floats on this, everything lines up, and because you've got a sort of a semi-join going on here, it does mean that it's more likely to protect the Kamry from that sort of damage. This is a Dream BT804 that I've got on here, and this is the type of Atties that this is really designed and chamfered to make look good. So you've got Novas, BT804, the BCC bottom coil clearos, all of those sorts of devices. This is really what it's designed to look good with, and as you can guess from designing well to look good with all of those kind of Atties, this is definitely what I'd call a mid-level device. Let's just take this off for a moment. Okay, so the buttons, and what do they do? This one here changes the colour of the screen. Now, my camera's not going to pick up what the LED shows as I cycle through these, but it's got 7 different colours, if that kind of thing's your thing. The button that's next to that, that's if I choose the right button. Okay, the button that's next to it is for varying wattage, if you want to run this as a variable wattage device, and it goes from 5 volts to 15 volts and then back down to 5. The buttons at the bottom here are completely the wrong way round from the way that you'd think to use them, but this varies your volts from 4, sorry, I'm going the wrong way, not from 4 at all, starting at 3 volts all the way up to 6 volts, and as you can tell by the way I keep hitting it, it does go in a round robin. So it's a bit bad that the batteries are the wrong way to what you'd expect. But to be fair, once you've got your Atty on there and you've got it lined up as you want, it's not the sort of thing you're going to keep changing. And if you are using this as your day-to-day, device, then it's something that you're easily going to get used to. On the bottom handle here, we've got 2 vent holes for getting rid of any noxious battery gases if you should get any, and you've got 2 holes again on the reverse. I quite like the way that they've sort of built it into the design. There's a little bit of a branding that's going on it front and back. This is sort of a plated brass as opposed to being stainless steel, which I think is absolutely fine. So this is your bottom battery connector. Now I don't even know whether this is metal or just plastic. It's incredibly light, and I mean obviously it must be metal for the way that it connects the charge through the rest of the ATI. But I do wonder whether that is just a coated plastic, or whether it is solid metal. It doesn't make that much difference in terms of usage. You've got a really good centre spring here, and if I show you the bottom, you can see that the 18650 does line up pretty much flush to the bottom of the base. So once you've got this screwed on, and that thread is really good, as you can probably hear. If I shake it, the only real rattle that you can hear is these buttons that rattle around slightly, and it's no better or no worse than the Vamo in that regard. As you might expect, 5-button press to turn the device off, 5-button press to turn it back on again. The hit counter on there, I mean, not that a hit counter is much use anyway, but it's sort of, if I just put an ATI on there, so you fire your ATI and it counts the number of hits that you've taken. The thing is, if I obviously if you pull the battery out, then it's going to lose that information, but if I do a 5-button press again, turn it off, turn it back on, it resets the hit counter, so it makes something that most people probably aren't really going to keep their eye on just that little bit less useful. What is useful though is if you tap this button 3 times, it tells you what the resistance of the coil is that you got at the moment. As you can see, I've got this set to 1.7 ohms. So I think that's pretty much all I can tell you in terms of walking you around it. So let's take a vape. I'll show you a few different voltage settings. So apologies for the slightly low light and on the table shot, but it was the only way I could get the LED to show up in any meaningful way. I've now stuck, this is a little AGI in dripper mode at the moment, so even with 22mm stuff, it still looks, it still fits the device really well. It still looks pretty good. Now, I've got this set at the moment. There's that lighting thing, 3 volts. Vapor's not too bad. Let's put this up to 3.5. It's definitely more vapor. When Todd did this, he was saying, and he showed on his tankometer, that there wasn't much different in the voltage output between 3 volts and 4 volts. I'm not experiencing the same thing. Now I don't know whether it's because I'm using a different battery, I don't know whether it's because there's something about the tankometer that doesn't quite read pulse width modulation right, I don't know. All I can say is I've played with this with a few settings between 3 volts and 4 volts, and 3 volts is definitely registering a lot lower than 4 volts. I say registering, I mean in terms of the vape. I haven't got a tankometer or anything else to show you, so I'm afraid that you're just going to have to take my subjective word for it. Okay, so let's pump this up to 4 volts. More vapor again. Put it up to 5 volts. Now it's really coming into its own. A few other things about the table shot. I was altering the wattage and I kept calling it volts. I kept talking about the battery being the wrong way around when I actually meant the up and down buttons for changing the volts as opposed to the watts. Sorry, like I said, not well. But, okay, so decision time. This or the Vamo? The Vamo's obviously got an advantage in that you can run it in an 18350 mode, but being honest, and anyone else that's used Vamos and things like that, I just don't get on with 18350 batteries. They just don't last long enough for my vaping habits. So I generally use the Vamo in 18650 mode, and I think in 18650 mode, side by side, I prefer this. Besides the laughable shape, well, some might say laughable shape, you know, you do have a much firmer grip of it the whole time thanks to the way that it's designed. It's ergonomic, if not aesthetic. What else can I say compared to the Vamo? If you've already got a Vamo, would I get one of these instead? To be honest, I think they're much of a muchness. I mean, the circuitry inside is pretty much exactly the same thing. If the colour changing thing is your thing, as I said before, then I guess you'd prefer the Kamry. But in terms of the output of it, when my Vamo was working, you know, the output's pretty similar. Now, because it's the same circuitry, I'm going to assume that you can run stacked 18350s in this. I was going to stack them just to test it, but if it doesn't like it, considering the fact that I am giving this away, I didn't want to go breaking it for anyone. But I would assume, maybe as I'll ask Charlie and find out whether he knows, but I'd assume that stacked 18350s would work just as well. So, is this a Vamo replacement? Probably not. Is it an alternative to the Vamo for someone that's looking to upgrade from an Ego? Definitely. And I think as an upgrade device, especially one that, I mean, either you're going to get it as an upgrade device, or you're going to get it because you don't want to take your expensive stuff down the pub and you don't want to risk damaging it. In either instance, I'd say that this is definitely better than the Vamo. But again, I think that a lot of it's going to come down to personal taste. So, thank you very much, Todd, for sending this on to review. I have been having a good go on it, actually, and it vapes really well. I was saying in the Power Block review about buck boosted versus pulse width modulation. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's not quite as punchy as the buck boosted stuff, but it still puts out a good vape. You can adjust it and find your sweet spot and keep it at the sweet spot, refine the sweet spot when you're changing your atties. No complaints. It's well worth owning. And with that in mind, I'm going to give it away. So what do you need to do to win it? Go to thevaporsden.com, become a member, and there's a thread there called Reviews, Competitions and Giveaways, Exclusive Vapors Den Reviews and Competitions. There's a thread on there called Lordy's Reviews, Kamry K200. So what you need to do is sign up at the Den, post yes please on that thread, nothing more, nothing less, otherwise you'll be ruled out. So just yes please, and also introduce yourself in the new members section. So to be eligible to win, you need to have posted yes please on the thread and introduced yourself as a new member, and I'll be verifying that by making sure that everyone that enters has a post count of at least 2. And that's it. I'm going to do a video for revealing who's won. What date are we on now? Okay, my reviews don't get as many hits in anywhere near the time that Todd's does, so I'm going to give a bit more time. So I'm going to do I'm going to announce the results on the 7th of June, which is a week from this Friday. Yeah, so there you go. If you want to win it, sign up at the Den, yes please on the thread, say hello as a new member, and that's it. Maybe this could be yours. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers.